What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Appreciate you joining me here on Backyard Country Living. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about some things that you can do for kind of winterizing your tractor, or more like winter tips that I try to practice, when the weather gets cold. And please, if if you're looking at this video and you got things that you can add in the comments, please do so to give everybody some tips on little things to do over the winter that makes life a little easier on your tractor. So anyway, maybe we'll kind of do a walk around here and just look at the different areas on things that I have learned over time, especially with the diesel tractor and this tractor that can help you out a little bit. All right, starting up front here, we'll look at the radiator. I think it's important to check your level and test your antifreeze to make sure it's good for those really colder temperatures. Make sure you don't have any freeze up problems. And as I did a video a few videos back, the battery, I always put a maintainer of some sort on the battery, because I don't use my tractor as much during the winter. I figured that might probably be the case with most people. You probably don't use it as much in the winter as you do in the summer months, with the days being shorter. And, by that time you get home, it's dark outside and all that good stuff. But having that maintainer to keep that battery, I think it helps the battery, the longevity of the battery, and just make sure you're got a good fresh battery when you get ready to start her up. And I think another thing, keeping those tire pressures maintained through the winter months. How with the temperature changes and everything, your pressures tend to vary a little bit. So I think you should still keep those checked all winter to make sure everything's good there. I think that a lot of people have problems with tires unclenching and stuff. It's maybe just because you haven't kept that right pressure checked on the tires. Moving on around the back here, the fuel tank and fuel. I think it's important to use a fuel treatment. Do your research and see what works best for you. But I think that helps, especially in the really colder climates, with the situation where you might have with the fuel trying to gel or whatever. And I also think it's important over the winter months to keep your fuel tank topped off for the most part. That just helps the situation, with condensation and everything accumulating in the fuel tank. I think you got less chances if you keep it full with getting water in the system and getting it in your fuel filter and everything. So topping it off, I think, is always a good idea in the winter months. All right, coming on around this side, let's talk about the hydraulics for a second. You see there the hydraulic pedals, and I've heard a lot of people, in tractor forums and groups and stuff, comment about these pedals being real stiff, in the winter and colder weather, and that is the case. That gets back to when you start your tractor up, give it 10 or 15 minutes to warm up. Get those fluids warmed up, because everything becomes cold and thick when it gets really cold outside. So you'll find if you let it warm up a little bit, and as you use it and everything gets good up to temperature, that those pedals will get back to a more normal situation rather than being stiff. It's just with everything so cold. Still doesn't hurt, hit it with some of that lubricant underneath where the mechanisms are, but I think if you let it warm up, you'll find that works a lot better. Coming on around here, some people, when you're in really cold climates or whatever, use a block heater. We don't have it here in North Carolina. We don't get that much extreme cold, so I've never had a problem having to do that. But block heater in some areas up north is probably a norm. And then I've read that some people want to make sure you got a new during the winter months fresh oil filter, just because if it's an old filter and it becomes more clogged. The oil, when you first start it up, obviously it's cold and thick, and it just it's more difficult to cycle through the filter. So I don't know, I've never done that, but I've read where that's kind of like a recommended thing or whatever. And also when you're starting this thing up, when it's really cold, maybe cycle that glow plug light on a couple of times just to get those things fired up and warmed up, and just makes it easier on the start. I've never had a problem with this thing during a cold start or whatever with the electronic and the glow plugs, and it's always started up really well. But here again, it doesn't get as cold here as some climates. So getting back to some other just general things, One thing that I found is a big deal for the winter is rodents or mice. You know, wanting to get up under there, especially after you've just parked it. It's all nice and warm up under there, man. There's some cozy looking places up under there that a mouse would just love to bed down, you know, get some straw or whatever, grass clippings, make them a nice bed under there. So some people actually, I've seen where they would actually open the hood, and you know, it's less inviting because it's not as closed in or whatever. And my best thing I've found is a cat. You know, if you got an old yard cat around the farm or whatever, most of the time he's going to do the job for you and keep the rodents to a minimum. We had one, James, you might have seen him in some of my earlier videos, but unfortunately he had an incident out on the highway and got hit by a car, so unfortunately he didn't make it. But we hadn't replaced him. But anyway, I try to keep you know, some kind of mouse bait or whatever around the barns, around the tractor shelter, something that just you know, try to keep control of those so they don't get up under their nest and, you know, chew wires and things like that. That could cause you a really bad situation. And that's the other thing, whether you you know, best case is over the winter, if you got somewhere you can park it in a garage or a somewhat heated area that it doesn't get quite so cold. If not, you know, I never, all the years I was growing up, liked to keep a tractor just out in the open. I don't know, it's just a pet peeve of mine. I want it under a shelter somewhere, but you know, everybody doesn't have that option, or maybe you're waiting to get a shelter built. If you got to leave it out in the open, it might be a good thought, like it is right now. You see this thing sitting here in the sun when it's really cold. That does, you know, help heat up the metal a little bit and make it easy to start, you know, on a cold start. Throw your tarp or something over, get your cover, just so if you get some snow and ice, you know, you got some way to keep it from, you know, sticking on everything and then making it more difficult when you get ready to use it. If everything's froze up, you know, that's not a good scenario. And the other thing is, you know, on the grease, still keep greasing it over the winter. You know, that grease gets kind of hard and cold when you got the freezing temperatures out there. It's not, you know, as loose and tacky as it is, you know, in the winter months. And that's another thing, you know, letting it sit in the sun, that grease will warm up a little bit, and, you know, it just works better rather than it being real cold and stiff. All right, I think that's going to about do it. Just a few little tips that I thought might help someone out there. But you know, please leave in the comments if you got other things that you may do to your tractor during the winter to help sort of winterize it, or help make it start easier, or, you know, just make the operation easier, you know, during those cold months. But I really appreciate everybody watching, and I appreciate everybody you know, positive feedback and all that good stuff. And I hope everybody really has a nice Christmas coming up. I don't know if I'll get a chance to do another video before Christmas, but if not, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And we got some stuff coming up I think we're going to be doing after Christmas, some cleanup work and everything with the grapple and stuff. So anyway, I appreciate you joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.